of all, I would like to
Sir,
thank you, Dr. Subhash, Technical
sir,
Campus.
sir, exactly. Sorry to
Sure,
interview. We are just start and we'll be doing some your inauguration, and I will forward the screen to you.
sure. Okay, awesome. Thanks.
Right? Hello, good morning to all of you. On behalf of Dr. Subhash Technical Campus, I, Professor Hiren Anandwani, heartily invited you, all of you, on today's webinar on future of 5G, IoT, and computing. So, for conducting today's webinar, our expert, young and dynamic personality, I would like to invite Mr. Chintan Rajaguru, sir, on this webinar. I will Mr. Chintan Rajaguru sir is currently working as at Intel as a senior IP research and enabling engineer at Intel, California, USA. Sir is working with Intel from the last 8 years. Sir has completed masters in computer and electrical engineering, and sir is a research scholar and the former PhD graduate from the Boston University. So we are very much fortunate to have Chintan sir to conducting this webinar. So I would like to invite Chintan sir to start this webinar, and so we are eagerly waiting for that. So over to you, sir. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Hiren sir. I would like to start by first, saying that it's always a pleasure, right? And it's like always good and humbling to connect to your own roots. And I'm connected today with Junagadh, the city where I grew up. So I would like to thank Dr. Subhash Technical Campus, Chetan sir, Hiren sir, and everybody to invite me. And I have a special bond and connection with Dr. Subhash, colleges and trust, and I will speak of that soon. So let me share something as well, right? So because this ought to be a kind of a sharing and interacting kind of a session. So uh, let me know if you can see my screen. I believe my screen is visible already. Awesome. Okay, great. So already Hiren sir had talked a bit about the introduction, but I'll have a quick introduction from myself as well. Like yes, like Hiren sir said, I'm a senior IP debug and research engineer in Mixed Signal IP Solutions Group at Intel Corporation. So we work on developing hard IPs, mainly focused towards interconnects, memory, and the technology that you see down the road, maybe 2 to 4 years, something that we're working on today, like developing them and pushing it out. So that is what I work on. I've been also involved in high volume manufacturing and worked on many products with chipset, clients, server, and SoC devices. And for my alma mater, I've been educated in Gujarat. First of all, my undergrad was in Gujarat at Saurashtra University or Atmiya University, now we can call it. And I studied in Rajkot pretty much. Like I said, I did my schooling in all in Junagadh. I grew up in Junagadh amongst the same people that you are. I was also one of those. Later, I went to the US for doing my master's. I completed my master's in electrical engineering and computer engineering. Then I was a research scholar from the US government to Europe, and I was in Europe for 3 to 4 months for conducting research, partnered with MIT. Later, I joined as a PhD student at Boston University. While I was doing my PhD, I got an opportunity as an intern to work with Intel in California. And then I converted that internship to full time. And then since then, like for 8 years, I'm there. I'm also a Hindi language poet, go to the local and regional Kavi Sammelan. I also write a bit in Gujarati and short stories as well. I do a little bit of philanthropy. I started working on it right now. We have founded it. We're in process of founding Ummeed, the Billion Dream Foundation, which is focused towards uplifting underprivileged kids. We did a few pilot events, and now it's still under legal counseling and to be launched officially. We want to talk a little bit in detail about my parents, right? And then that's where our real bond, comes into picture. Like I would say that હું એવું કહેવા માંગુ છું કે મારા રગરગમાં ડોક્ટર સુભાષ છે સંકળાયેલી છે આખી સંસ્થા. કારણ કે મારા પિતાશ્રી જે છે ડોક્ટર બાલકૃષ્ણ રાજ્યગુરુ અને મારા માતાશ્રી ડોક્ટર નીતાબેન શુક્લા બંને પ્રોફેસર છે અને બંને પોતાની કરિયર સુભાષમાંથી શરૂ કરેલી. મારા પપ્પાએ સુભાષમાં 33 years ની સર્વિસ આપી છે. Dr. Balkrishna Rajaguru, many of you, who are in the trust, એમને ઓળખતા હશે. અને એટલે જ તે મારે ખાસ કરીને યાદી આપવી છે. અને આઈ વોન્ટ ટુ પે માય રિસ્પેક્ટ, સ્પેશિયલ રિસ્પેક્ટ ટુ વિઝનરી શ્રી પેથલજીભાઈ ચાવડા, જેમણે આ સંસ્થાને, અને એવું કહેવાય કે એક સંસ્થા, અને એવું કહેવાય કે કૃષ્ણના વંશજો એવા એવી કોમ્યુનિટીનું જ નહીં, પણ આખા જુનાગઢનું અને આખા રિજનનું અપલિફમેન્ટ કર્યું છે. અને અત્યારે આજે જવાહરભાઈ છે, રાજભાઈ છે, બધા એ જ સેમ વસ્તુને આગળ વધારી રહ્યા છે. ત્યારે ખાસ મને એ વસ્તુ યાદ આવે છે, કારણ કે મારા પપ્પાએ જ્યારે કોલેજ જોઈન કરી હતી, રાઈટ અરાઉન્ડ ધ ટાઈમ આઈ વોઝ અ સ્મોલ કિડ, લાઈક આઈ થિંક વેન હી જોઈન્ડ આઈ વોઝ જસ્ટ બોર્ન. એમને એ સર્વિસ આપી, અને એ મોટો સાથે વર્ક ઇઝ વર્શિપ, રાઈટ. કમ વોટ મે, કોઈ પણ અડચણ આવી હોય લાઈફમાં, એમણે ઓલવેઝ સેવા ચાલુ રાખી છે. અને એઝ અ રિનોન્ડ એજ્યુકેશનલિસ્ટ ઇન સૌરાષ્ટ્ર region, lot of school teachers associate with him because he was in the education B.Ed college, right? Same thing for my mother. She's a Hindi language literary as well. She's done PhD in Gujarati and Hindi languages, some analysis. She has also 30 years of immense experience in teaching, right? And she's an inspirational model as well. Whenever she is taking the lecture, no matter the age, students will always follow from the time she was young. So just want to give a bit of a background કે હું કઈ રીતે સુભાષ સાથે જોડાયેલો છું. અને હું બહુ જ થેન્કફુલ છું કે I used to come to the college, to the campus, અને પપ્પા સાથે એમની કોલેજમાં ઘણી વખત નાનો હતો ત્યારે હું જતો, right, as a toddler, and as a kid, I used to join him sometimes. એમના સ્ટાફ રૂમનો એક્સપિરિયન્સ etc, it was really pleasant, અને બહુ જ સારું એન્વાયરમેન્ટ છે, and I'm really glad to be amongst all of you. So now, moving on, let's talk about Intel, right? So let's go to the technology directly. I want to say that Intel is evolving, and evolving in such a way that we can say that currently, if anything that is connected, right, if it's a smart and connected, it's best with Intel. And today is the day of smart devices, and we are assuming that there will be like billions of devices to be connected by 2025, 2030. There are lots of statistics. It's going to be $1 trillion industry. And that's why you can see that like Intel's revenues and assets are really high, right? Like $147 billion, just to give some perspective. Like $1 billion is 7,000 crore Indian rupees, and $147 billion would be something around like 11 lakh crore rupees, right? So that's the potential of technology today, right? It's a technology-driven world. If you look at today's Silicon Valley કે જ્યાં આગળ આપણા Indians છે એ બહુ જ આગળ પડતા છે. તમે ઘણા બધા CEOs છે, vice presidents છે, even in Intel's MCM, we have a lot of people from Indian origin. So what I want to say is that Silicon Valley, where innovation, dream is the key. And now you can say that maybe if you include like 25 to 30 companies from Silicon Valley, it will be equivalent to India's GDP. So that much of potential technology has in today's day. And luckily, unfortunately, we are at the point where Indian youth, આપણું જે youth છે એની આગળ potential છે, આપણો જે human resource છે, and thanks to this kind of technical campuses where they provide accelerating environment for kids to go out there, innovate and learn. So India is in that position where it can innovate, right? So going back to the technology perspective, right? And today we're going to talk about IoT, 5G, cloud computing, right? And for that, I would want to say that this is a virtuous cycle that Intel wants to promote always. I'm not sure if you can see my, I think, yeah, you can see my mouse pointer, right? So this is a kind of a virtuous cycle that keeps on spinning, right? It's based on the experience. તમે લોકો તમારા phone ને use કરતા હો, TV ને, streaming devices, all kinds of smart devices, medical equipments. There is a certain type of an experience associated with it, right? Like we're all kind of pretty much, we can say that, addicted to that experience. Now that experience, right, to cater to that experience, what do we need? We need the devices, right? So the smart devices, be it like your cell phone, medical devices, any kind of sensory devices, industrial equipments, right? Smart watches, all those devices that can be connected. Your refrigerators are connected today, right? If you want to look inside your refrigerator, You can take a photo and see like from your smartphone what is then inside your refrigerator. So all of those things are kind of connected, right? So you need a connectivity. So yes, the connectivity, we have 5G, we have high-speed Wi-Fi, optical cables, you have like satellite communications like Starlink, etc. And then the and then you need all this data that is getting generated, right? You need to host that data, and for that you need the cloud and data centers, right? And then you need accelerated technologies, right? So this connectivity spinning cycle just keeps on going, right? And then it's expanding every day. Number of devices are increasing, the connectivity speeds are increasing, the cloud and data storage are getting humongous, right? You need to really need like power plants to provide the power to them, because they're power hungry, and they're very capable also, right? So speaking of like all of the infrastructure that is behind it, and accelerate technologies, meaning you need the security around it, you need let's say FPGA security, smart artificial intelligence, right? So all those things can make things faster, more efficient. So those kind of things you need today. So આ બધી જે આખી એક virtuous cycle છે એને લીધે we are growing in the technology today. And let's talk about all the products, right? Intel has hundreds of products to give and cater this portfolio of products, right? Awesome. So I'll move on to the next slide here. So I want to talk about the uh, I want to talk about mainly the cloud computing, right? So cloud computing, some of the examples are right here. For example, like I spoke about, this one picture right here is the Tesla manufacturing plant, right? So you can see like the amount of automation it can do, right, based on the connected devices that are there, and it's all smart, efficient, and now you can see that the Tesla's throughput is so high that autonomous driven car that it can. Uh, so that's pretty good that Tesla can do so much of the throughput, and autonomous cars are there. At the same time, the entire ecosystem today, right? Marketing and all those things are so much connectivity, and the entire commerce system, right? If it's like a customer engagement systems and all those systems that are there in the background, you're buying something on Amazon and you get the notifications right away, something is delivered, where you're shipping, tracking, all those things are. So a lot of these things are thankfully to the IoT and computing. So I can go and talk about days on what actually is the cloud computing, go into the technical details, but rather than me showing some um, uh, like slides and going through the words, let's do the video, do the talking, right? So Intel has some public videos made for the overview and an introduction. I'd like to take an opportunity to share now some of that, so that you can. So let me go to. So I guess I'm sharing the. So I want to take a pause here. I hope that you can still hear me, right? I want to take a small pause here and talk about different type of clouds, right? So private clouds, public, and hybrid. So, uh, so basically, a private cloud is something. Let's say a Dr. Subhash Technical Campus should have its own system with data center. You are hosting your own website, etc., and network, student information system, all those things. So that's kind of like a private cloud. Something like a public would be an example of, let's say, if you start your own website, right? And then you say, okay, I want to serve people, right? For maybe it's an e-commerce website. So you want to serve people so that they can buy products from your website. So that is like more so for hosting that website, you go to a cloud company that provides a solution, and that will be kind of a public system, right? Because and they're more kind of scalable, right? So let's say these days you get those options that you want to increase your server bandwidth, you want to increase your storage, all those things based on the amount of traffic to your website or your app. it'll be decided. And hybrid is kind of a mix of both, right? So you can actually optimize it and then use some of the public features and some of the private features. So let's move on. I apologize if the video's audio is not that clear, but I'll try to pause it in the middle and then try to describe it to you as well. So it's like I'm not sure if you heard the audio, but in the audio, like they said, it's a set of network of servers and storage devices, right? And when that pool of network server storage devices gets larger in the scale, you can call it, and then it works intelligently, in a collaborative environment. Then that whole ecosystem you can call it a cloud. This is something I already spoke about, how storage devices and then the servers can scale based on the requirement and demand, and something that is what is being shown right now. So not to say that the public cloud, as you saw, that it has the capability of scaling, right? But at the same time, you have to pay the third party, contractors who are providing you the cloud infrastructure, right? At the same time, right, a lot of companies prefer private clouds, right? Because you can own your cloud infrastructure, you can optimize it according to your need. So that is why private clouds are also equally important. Okay, great. So I just want to get a feedback from the host. If host is available, were you able to hear the audio of the video properly? Is there any kind of feedback available? Anyways, so yeah, let me share now let's go back to the presentation. So yes, I hope that you can see the presentation again. Um, I also want to talk a little bit about uh, the Internet of Things, right? So, so for Internet of Things, again, going back to the diagrams that we have, right? Uh, the, we spoke about the devices that you can have different type of devices like refrigerator, your smart watches, your healthcare devices, and all those devices connected, right? Now that infrastructure gets online through the connectivity and and then IoTG, the Internet of Things, plus the connectivity and the cloud will give you an entire ecosystem, which is you know uh, which you can use for all the advanced technologies. There is another video that I would like to take an opportunity to show, which is quite thrilling about Internet of Things. Again, the video will share much more insight, and it will be exciting. I really hope that the audio works better this time. Um, I want to take a pause here and talk about edge as well. So, so you would have heard of different terminologies of cloud computing already and Internet of Things already. What is edge computing? Edge computing is kind of a middle buffer layer that can provide you. What happens with the cloud is that you need a really high streaming bandwidth, or else if you don't have a high streaming bandwidth, your let's say, for example, your devices which are streaming videos, right? Your security cameras, or let's say some of the decision making and processing that you need, for example, vision computing, right? So you're doing the face detection and all those kind of things. Um, uh, there are a lot of technology being innovated these days, especially in the time of crisis, right? It's always the fact that whenever there is a crisis, there's always an opportunity for inventions, right? So let's say, for example, if you are inventing some technologies of face detecting some people, let's say if you're going in a Mumbai railway station, right, which is crowded, and you want to see that if there are people who are not wearing masks, so you could have cameras which can, point at the people, identify those people who are not wearing masks, and then trigger those alerts for the security people. So something like that. Now for those kind of applications, you can't continuously stream, let's say, 25 cameras and then process to the cloud and then bring it back, right? So that's why edge is kind of a buffer that will provide like you a super like a computing experience, right, where it will kind of like a decentralize it, and then you will have that opportunity to compute, run your machine learning algorithms, face detection algorithms locally, and then only stream out the data that is required for the cloud, right? So that's the edge computing, and it's a very key innovative thing that the key component now in the entire cloud computing mechanism, right? That is getting introduced and being utilized. And another thing, right? Again, the time is coming for self-driven cars. Traffic management, congestions. We know, like, we are a populated country, being in India, right? How much of a traffic is a trouble for everybody, right? Now we can see that even in Junagadh, right? That how traffic has become every day's problem. How we can introduce technology, right? Or be it our uh, prime minister or entire government is now really vouching for the technology, right? Be it government of Gujarat, and be it Prime Minister Modi, or even at a local level, our cabinet minister Jawahar, right? All of us are like interested, and we're vouching for the technology. Why not to use technology to provide and solve some of the problems? So here's one example, right? Like how with 5G coming in and the self-driven cars and more intelligent sensing cars coming in, your your uh, your cars and your scooters, they will be smart enough to engage and then know, hey, don't go there. Right now, if you go through this road, this particular road, then you will find more traffic, right? And then in any way you're getting that to some extent with the Google Maps, right? So we're already there, but how about that's like hybrid and connected, and your cars are feeding in the data live rather than Google trying to sense based on your phones. But if your cars are smart, your scooters are smart. So some of this kind of technologies, right? So that's also an example of IoT.
Could rush hour be eliminated? Our ability to respond to events is only as good as our ability to capture and process the data. And now, with built-in Intel Deep Learning Boost, the second generation Intel Xeon Scalable processors prepare you for the next chapter of your business. Transformative IoT is here. Connect intelligence from edge to cloud and make better decisions for better results and a better world.
So I hope you enjoyed this video. Uh, so let's go back to our own sharing. At the same time, I want to talk about, since we already spoke about um, IoTG and cloud computing, I want to talk about local solutions. Okay, so something again like how our connection, right, of Junagadh. I brought in a few pictures for you, like Garvo Girnar, right? It's a Girnar mountain. So what I'm trying to say here is that, okay, why can't we use, and especially for Subhash Technical Campus, right, and students of DSTC, um, let's explore some opportunities. This technology is there, and then those videos seem to be like, okay, this is something for the foreign countries, right, where their traffic system is so good, you have clean roads, better roads, very very advanced, cars, right, and less traffic. If you try to put something like a self-driven car on Indian roads, it might be a bit of a chaos, right? So, or it will be a stress testing actually for a car, that can it cover all the scenarios or not. But yes, that is true. With all these technologies we have, that is one dimension of advanced countries. Smart country, smart cities, and we want to go there. We'll be there soon. The way we are going, we have started, a giant faith, a leap of faith in that direction. But what we also have a mantra now. Especially because of COVID-19 crisis. Vocal for local. And I saw that in your website also. You have that page on your website, vocal for local competition, right? And I really admire whoever has come up with that innovative idea, that spirit. And we need that spirit, right? And for vocal for local, what do we need first, right? First of all, yes, we want to manufacture and make things locally, but at the same time, we want to understand the needs, right? So we need to understand the local needs first, right? What are like being in Junagadh, right? Being there also, you have so much opportunities for making startups, right? Becoming a social entrepreneur, right? Like you don't have to be, yes, of course, there's an economic model always there, but think of all the goodness technology can bring. It's not just that the technology will bring joblessness. In fact, on the contrary, being engineers, we should think of it always that all this technology is bringing and creating more jobs, right? And not just that, with this technology, we can problem so many issues, right? So we can solve the water crisis, right? Wildlife and forestation. So you can see that recently Prime Minister Modi shared that how lions population has increased, right? And you know why that happened? Because I remember going to the Gir forest and Sasan forest as a child. The forest officers, they started using technologies like sensors for lions a long time ago. And because of that sensing technology, they were able to track, right? If nobody used to be, none of the lions were lost. If the lion is lost, they used to track them easily based on those sensing devices. So something like that, right? And also like making sure that the water resources and everything that they need are filled up. So some of the technology is already there, and if not there, we have an opportunity to provide that today, right? So that those species, today we are going towards global warming, the forest deforestation is happening, right? There are forest fires, wildlife species are getting extinct, all those problems, you know uh, all those solutions can come through technology, right? You can even in the US you can see that a lot of trees are marked, are marked, and then they keep track of them, and then they put it on the database, just to know that which type of species of trees, animals, birds, how they're acting, do they have water resources, is everything is fine. If there's fire going on, forest fire, you have drones, etc., to capture that. um, so a lot of innovation can be done on the wildlife, and then Junagadh is in a center for that, right? We have an example to show to the world that we have a forest, yes, and then we have a capability, and it's like you can see here, right? One of the pictures, like it's not a forest that you can find a tropical forest. It's actually dry a lot of times, so that's why the wildlife has to struggle a lot. There is a water scarcity as well. How can you help in that environment wildlife to sustain? And that's a challenge, and that's an opportunity, right? That DSTC students can go take those initiatives, right? Work with the forest officers. You have a lot of people with influence in government today. You have a lot of people like us, who are connected with you for any kind of help required, right? You need any suggestion, guidance, anything. We're there with you, to support you. Why don't you go ahead and build something that is good for the local society, right? Again, agriculture, I've got like cotton pictures here, right? Like be it cotton and groundnut. In fact, we are one of the best agriculture universities in the country, right? Why not to do some kind of collaboration with them? And believe me, I've been in touch with some of the agriculture university professors and their kids. They actually do cutting edge research there. You all would have visited Moti Bagh, right? And then the agriculture environment there. They go to Israel. They do a lot of technology and innovation there. Why can't we participate and partner with them to make something really creative, right? And solve the problems. We want to increase the farmers' income, right? There's this. Now customers and service providers are connected through e-commerce, right? Why can't you help farmers to be able to find the better customers, right? And then create some kind of a platform in there which can engage into that. There's an opportunity for helping them with the smart farming, right? Have sensors, water, smart water system, having solar panels and LEDs, LED lights, etc., plugged in there, so that the one of the things that I always notice whenever I'm flying over the countries, right? Whenever I'm flying over maybe a European country or US, I see that the farms are so huge, like hectares and hectares of farms. Whereas when I come to India, right, and flying on top of it, I see always like a spider web. We have very tiny farms now, because from generations we've been a farming community, and then now because of all the divisions that happens, within the family, the farms have become so smaller. So that's why the industrial scale farming happens in the US, right? Like where there are gigantic machines to increase the throughput, right? Whereas that is not possible with Indian farming, because we don't have that much of capital to invest, right? We are very much weather dependent. How can we that's where the real challenge is, right? But now with all this, you can still have smaller devices like tractors, other devices, right? Even like drones, right? You can have drones to sprinkle water, or fertilizers and things like that. You can innovate. And now, in fact, now I would say that the smaller farm the better. You can have wide variety, you can have organic farming, all those things. So opportunities, right? And then I've put a Somnath temple photo there as well, right? That the coastal security. Gujarat is one of the states with, and especially Junagadh, Gir Sasan districts are some of those who have a lot of coastal region, right? So how do we guard the coast, and all the other economics related to cost as well, starting from fishing and all. So basically, an entire local solution, right? Let's those things the box. and doing something of that sort. So uh, I'll be really glad if we can direction. And I'm sure that DSTC, the way all the education, all the professors, faculties are contributing. Although I looked at your innovative forum website, and there is a lot of innovation going on. In fact, I saw that the Honorable Minister of Education, Bhupender Singh Churasama, also visited, and I see some great photographs with you innovating there. And he's also very humble and kind and always forward looking. I had a seminar a couple of weeks back with him, a webinar with him, and very approachable people. These days, through technology, you can see that be it your finance minister, in fact, even during a day, what your prime minister is doing, like from probably almost an hourly update, you can get where he is, whom he is meeting, and then addressing people. And so leadership is approachable, opportunity is there. It's a time of crisis. It's just that we need to act, right? And that's the only portion that is missing, maybe to some extent, to solve the problems, right? So let's see what we got next. Yeah, and I was talking about the self-reliance, right? So Atmanirbhar Bharat, and that's no joke, guys. And it's not that it's something like a kind of a nationalistic motto. Right? I'm not promoting that at all. It's something that because of this crisis that we have, you need to have decentralized supply chain system. You cannot rely on one country or one area to get your resources. Also, you cannot rely on one place to get all your manufactured goods. And that's why, that is the reason why we're talking about self-reliance. And not just that self-reliance, we don't want everything to be manufactured in Gujarat. We don't want everything to be manufactured in Tamil Nadu or Maharashtra. We want it to be kind of decentralized, distributed system, right? And that's why the Atmanirbharta, each and every state, each and every district, right? What things can you find? You know, uh, um, that you can produce locally. You can find the local needs, and then also there's also a good keyword that is local, you know local to global, right? So once you find local solutions, you can always scale them to be global solutions as well. So something of that sort, right? So industrial revolution 4.0 is totally relied on that, and you can see some of this, right? I've shown a cool picture of a fab, Intel fab that's out there, right? So it's a very clean environment, and you can see the people wearing bunny suits. And then this infrastructure is so sophisticated, right, and automated, right? There's some cool videos. I would recommend you to go and out there in public, right, to go and view them, right? Like how technology, right, is it's smart manufacturing facilities, and similarly like shipping and logistics, right? And so supply chain and logistics, like Amazon has like smart robots to move around things in some of their warehouses, right? And then and this is like one of the data center for Facebook, right? And then some of the examples of how industrial revolution 4.0, and it calls for Atmanirbharta, a self-reliance, and also that we need it anyway, right? So that is on the industrial revolution. At the same time, let's go and look at the 5G technology, right? So 300 gigahertz of the throughput. And let me show a quick video and some insight from the 5G as well. So I hope you can see this again.
Connectivity, a huge computing habit. Our heritage powered the cloud and the data centers, and we extended that to the networks. Intel drove the network transformation and scale, taking networks from more fixed function to virtualized and software defined. We're taking that same revolution and taking it to enterprises and the world of 5G. 5G now evolved from not only the communication technology, but to be a cloud-based network. In Intel, from past 20 plus years experience, Intel has proved that it has a leadership at computing, storage, in data center, and in the cloud. We say 5G runs on Intel, and 5G indeed runs on Intel. We have a very rich solutions that support the build-out of 5G and their own niche of 5G. So this is about collaborating and taking that end-to-end ecosystem to life.
By the way, this is not fiction, okay? This is reality. This is kind of an augmented, or you can say that immersive experience of reality, virtual reality. And there was one of the CES talks in which Intel CEO at that time had showed like a flying blue whale on top of the audience, right? And then the audience was wearing the VR glasses, and that is possible today. So something like you might have seen on the Minority Report or something. We're going towards that.
No other company on the planet that has these type of capabilities that is better positioned to enable this 5G revolution together with the edge compute revolution.
Okay, and this at this moment, right? And I've had this, privilege to, well, right now, the video that is being shown from Intel is by, we have mobilized partners with Intel, and we have self-driven car prototypes, which is out in public, right? And I mean, the videos for that is out in public to see. And I had a privilege to drive a Tesla crossover myself, and then this is really good experience, guys, right? Letting the steering be, and then the car drives itself, and it's a really cool experience. And that's reality again, and they'll be all connected again. 5G technology would help it get even better.
So we have probably the broadest range of product portfolio. We have the CPU, so anywhere from Xeon to we have RGA, we have custom ASICs. So all of that together provides the backbone of the platform from the cloud to the network to the edge.
Intel also partners with many different open source communities, enabling all sorts of critical software for the 5G era.
What's really exciting is from the infrastructure perspective, we have the technology and we have the relationships where we are driving this today. Next steps really include ensuring that we are enabling our partners to go and drive this.
5G, edge compute, and IoT are the game changers of our generation.
And so with a broad set of technologies, standards-based interfaces, and broad ecosystem supply chain, we feel that we're in a very, very good position, probably the best position to deliver on these 5G promises. And we're going to see a lot of innovations on Intel platforms that are just, I think, will just blow our minds.
Awesome, guys. So this was one of the videos that I wanted to share with you as well. This was one of the last videos that I wanted to share with you. Let's go back to the screen share. I think we're close to the top of the hour. Let's see if we can spend a few more minutes. So yeah, and then moving on. Again, I want to talk a bit about COVID-19, right? One of the reasons why I'm meeting you, I've been to the campus once earlier as well. One of the reasons why I'm meeting you through webinars is that yes, A, I'm in the US, and B, right now we all kind of in the lockdown phase. Lockdown phase is getting relaxed, but not to say that the concern about the pandemic is still the same. So, smart medical and healthcare, how technology can be used today to solve some of the crises that we have, right? Right now, let's say we may not have enough testing capabilities or hospital beds available, and then the number is seriously rising. What do we do in terms of like reducing the people's visit to the hospitals, right? And then could you do something like an e-diagnosis, right? Like and try to get advice through video calls, through conferences, and then doctors can provide you advice that okay, it seems like probably it's just a fever, it's not something, and even if you are positive at that time, you can take the care videos directly. Through consultations, online video consultations, right? And then all the medical kits and all those things can be provided to positive patients. Also you can track their movements. All those things you can do just to make sure that the community spread is limited. And and especially the computing, right? So supercomputing, cloud computing, right? All those resources being combined together. Consortium 437 is like, consortium is one of the examples which can have some hundreds of petaflops of data, floating point operations that it can do, right? And some of those are right now, a lot of supercomputers which are out there in the world are actually loaned. Some of them are loaned, utilized for doing the protein mapping of COVID-19, right? And then there's been some success as well, right? There's some potential solutions coming up based on these findings. And then again, AI and robotics, can help. Like I said earlier, like you could have a face detection, like of this sort, of people, that if they're wearing masks, providing. See here, you can see that if somebody is not wearing a mask, is detected. Right? This is the vision computing. All the people who are wearing masks is fine, right? But those who are not wearing masks, hey, why are you not wearing masks? Right? And it can be triggered, and then you can cite them, or maybe educate them that how important it is to be safe in this time. And at the same time, let's say this is one of the cute robots that Intel had built, right? And this is also very important, right? Let's say if you have a COVID-19 positive ward, you probably don't want people to some of the medical officers to be engaged directly. Then you can have some robots like this to take temperatures, talk and greet patients, something like that. So those kind of solutions can be provided. So yep, smart medical healthcare devices, connected devices is also one of the solutions to fight one of the crisis that we are in today. So yes, I know that. Again, I want to go back to I want to end this with a note on the health challenges, right? So there's this famous, I'm not sure how famous that is, but it is at least to some people, like we have Ayurvedic University in Junagadh as well. So I'm sure they would know this, um, that there is a sutra given that health is of utmost important. Okay, so in our spiritual philosophy, dharma, arth, kam, and moksha are the four pillars, right? But dharma, arth, kama, mokshanam, arogyam, moolam, uttamam, meaning that the health is arogya is even important, right? If you don't have health, you can't do any of those. So that's why I mean, these numbers are a bit outdated right now. You can see that the numbers have actually gone much higher. This is because it's an exponential curve. But we know that there's a lot of impact to all these industries, right? If it's like tourism industries, small scale businesses, lots of jobs have been lost. Markets are crashing worldwide right now. We saw that the markets were recovering, but recently they're again falling back a little bit because the numbers are not stopping. Even US was doing better, but now I think the US is also going a little bit back on the higher trend. India is getting into, like, all of us were worried about. Government and machineries work really hard for that, but it is to some extent inevitable, right? With the population that we have given. But this challenges and opportunity. I mean, challenges. We have to face them, fight with it, and then find opportunities in this time, right? Because all these things that we are losing out, I'm sure that there are more opportunities coming up on the way, and we are going to strike back much more stronger and powerfully, right? So I want to end right now with saying that, okay, COVID-19 is there, but then we need to work on the cure, by computing, connecting, and creating new jobs. So in spite of having all these challenges, I'm sure that we can create jobs, and we can create more opportunities for us coming back stronger and better. So I think we're almost at the top of the hour. I want to go back to the host if there are any questions or anything that they want to do interactive about this. Thank you so much for listening to me. And back to the host. Thank you. Very good, guys. I'm not sure if the host can become online, but I want to conclude by thanking every one of you again. Okay, I see Hiran sir now. Okay. Hello, Hiran sir.
Yes, sir. I'm here. Actually, I was not in the stream. So thank you, Chintan sir, for the very wonderful session. Now I would like to ask all the participants if they have any questions, they can put it on a chat box. Then we will get the question to Chintan sir.
Thank you. Questions are all welcome, okay? No question is a bad question. And I actually wanted this session to be a little bit interactive, but it's not possible, right, in the streaming fashion. So, but yeah, um,
Yes, actually, sir, I have one question for that. So, there is a medical crisis going now on the corona, and also there are so many challenges in the medical field. There are some mental illness going on. There are so many issues, sir. So, how the on today's technology, like there are so many AI and the machine learning, will help to come over all this medical illness in the future. So how you are seeing today's technology will be helping in the medical field?
sure, Hiren. So that's a very good question, right? Because as I said, right now we are going through this crisis, and that's kind of a crux of it, right? So main thing that we want to talk about. Let me recall that slide that I shared, right? And about the healthcare, there are so many opportunities to solve that, right? And if I want to go back quickly onto that. Um, so yeah, like I said, there are so many things like pharmaceutical industries are trying to find the proper drug solution, right, like a vaccine or something, and for that we need to there's a lot of right gene mapping, protein mapping, right, is required, and it requires lots and lots of computing power, right, because it's a huge string of information, right, the genetics, and then you have to find like the the deltas between the two. Let's say if you have two samples, right, you want to find that, okay, what are the matching points, what are the non points which are not matching, what are the traits of the virus, going into the detail. I'm sure a health expert can go into a greater detail than that, but from at high level, right, that is very computer aggressive, and then your supercomputers can help on that. Better algorithms, right, can come up with faster computing, and again, solving those problems faster, right? Some mathematical models to solve those problems, and then AI and robotics is another way through which we can solve some problems, which are in the critical situations, right? Rather than going into the crowded places and exposing yourself, you can probably send something which is or monitor them through remotely. Also taking some e-diagnosis, like a centralized medical system, sharing the database, right? There's so much data right now in the world related to COVID-19 that people have no idea how to process that, right? And I'm sure that that data can give you a lot of clues of how to fight this better. So these are all some of the ways, right, you can fight COVID-19 with the use of technology, be it artificial intelligence, machine learning, advanced computing, and connectivity.
Thank you. Thank you very much, sir. We
Sure.
also have some other questions on the chat box from the Dr. H.S. Trivedi. Sir, how IoT related to the cloud computing?
Right. So a very good question again. So Internet of Things, right? So Internet of Things are so let's say they're connected smart devices. You could have your own private network of let's say smart devices connected, right? And that is working in an infrastructure which is quite private and your own locally operated environment, right? But what if you want to monitor those things at a larger platform, right? Like for example, let's look at some of the examples. Let's say if you want to one example is if I in US there are, and probably in India also, this kind of capabilities are developing. Let's say if I want to go to a particular route from let's say Folsom to San Francisco towards the Silicon Valley, right? There's a freeway. Now I can look at the camps, right? The freeway camps directly on my phone through a website. Now that kind of an example is like, okay, you have those cameras, right, which are, let's say, if your smart connected devices, right? But now putting that information on the cloud is going to, you will be able to host that data to millions of subscribers who want to see the live webcam, right? Sometimes it's the weather conditions you want to see, and hundreds of, or let's say thousands and millions of such applications today. That yes. This whole ecosystem of the virtuous cycle that I discussed about, right? That kind of gives you an example. That's a really good picture to show that okay, Internet of Things are one, but then you need the connectivity and then connect it with the cloud, right? So clouds are there to host and serve the users who are using those, right, at a wider scale. Whereas, so that's the connection to me, like between the Internet of Things and the cloud computing.
Thank you very much, sir, for answering the question. So we also have one question. So effects of 5G technology in the future, effects of 5G, and also, so one more question is that does the 5G technology will affect the birds?
It's a good question. Okay, so there is a research going on, and then we have seen that, right, to some extent. Actually, I've written a poem on it. Actually, written outside of the technology regarding technology, how it can harm if you don't use it carefully. But some of that is also a myth, right? Because the research is not conclusive yet to give you that data 100%. Because think of it like we are. 5G, 4G, 3G, all those things are how are they transmitting? They're transmitting through electromagnetic waves. Right? What is light? Light is also electromagnetic waves, right? So, and in fact, we are not as high frequency as that. We are actually lower frequency than light. So let's say if I have a light right now that is from an LED bulb in my room, is it actually harming me? Maybe not. The research is not that conclusive yet. But yeah, the light does not harm you. Similarly, electromagnetic waves have tendency to harm you less. But the extent of the exposure. Okay, so I've seen some videos, and I don't know the validity of it, but I've seen those videos, and I'm sure you would have seen that if you put 8 phones together, and then it can pop a popcorn, right? But it's again, it's the extent, right? Okay, a lamp, આપણે એક દીવો કર્યો પ્રગટાવ્યો હોય તો દીવાથી આપણને રોશની આવે, પણ તમે દીવાની બહુ નજીક જાઓ તો તમને દજાય પણ ખરું. એટલે but this devices which we are talking about are going to be really low power devices, right? So that's why its effect is not proven as of yet to do any kind of harm. It's just like a light beam, right, falling on you. So that's why when we are living in the electromagnetic cloud, it is like that. So yes, there are some theories, conspiracy theory versus science. So I would say that let's science win at this point, because based on all that, like I just mentioned, the waves are not of that extreme. But I would say that let's say if you were to raise, and then some people don't follow FCC, right? FCC has standard guidelines of what kind of power needs to be emitted, right? And with that, you may get the coverage issues, but you won't be exposing harm. And then FCC does a thorough research in looking at those, to calibrate that, find that optimal level of power that can be emitted from a particular antenna. But if you don't follow that, then there can be some side effects that are not proven as of yet. But yeah, so the answer is, again, going back to the answer in the summary, the answer is no. In fact, it's as simple as falling a light beam on you. But again, it depends like how close you want to go. If you go close to the sun, of course you're going to get burnt. So it's based on more on the power, the amount of power that is being generated than the wave spectrum. Wave spectrum is still the same electromagnetic spectrum that we're talking about, and a lot of some of the electromagnetic spectrums can be harmful, but the bandwidth that we are acting right now, even with the 300 gigahertz, it's still not in that range. We're not talking about ultraviolet, and it's we are if you look at the electromagnetic spectrum, all of our radio frequencies are here, and then you have infrared light, ultraviolet, all those things, right? So we are not there, and I don't think we need to go there. The technologies keep evolving. And it's key about 5G is more just not about 300 gigahertz, like higher bandwidth. It's also about localizing things, right? So while localizing things, we are increasing the throughput and decentralizing things a little bit. So that's the benefit and the key of it. Yeah, good question. A tough one.
Thank you very much, sir, for the very wonderful explanation of the question. Sir, one last question from the student perspective. So the question is like that: what is the career opportunities in the field of 5G, IoT, and the computing for the students, specifically for the students, how students will approach this as a career opportunities.
Yeah, that's a very good point. Okay, a very good question. Again, I wanted to talk about it more, especially about the job opportunities. Okay, and when the public figures of hiring are sometimes public, so I'll talk about this. When I joined Intel, right, the Bangalore site had about 2 to 3 thousand employees, maybe. Right, currently you see that about like 8 to 10 thousand. So it's like three folds in like 7 to 8 years. Okay, so the site is expanding. So that says that, and sometimes I get shocked when we talk about that, that, oh, it's electronics and communications, computer engineering not doing that well. There's job crisis going on. I would want to say that, this is a time for opportunity. We are making a really giant leap. Think of it like a 2000, 2001. Unfortunately, because of some of the recessions, when we started 2001, like 3G and then 4G, so there was such a technology boom. Similarly, right now we are entering the realms of 5G, Internet of Things. All those things will create ample amount of job opportunities. Right, there are so many. um, and we are already seeing that, right? It's not just about computer science, but even especially electronics and communications. Right now, there are so many AI, machine learning, FPGA based devices. Be it even right now, if you'll see some 50,000 crore, I could be wrong on the figure there. 50,000 crore rupees of revenue was announced by the Ministry of India, like a Union Minister of India, for promoting semiconductor industry in India, right? Like to bring people in, bring the businesses in, and motivate people in India to get into the electronics world as well. So the sky is the opportunity, I would say. In fact, this if there is any time to be excited about technology and be ready for jobs, and not why only jobs, right? You could have your own startups, right? So it's the best time, actually. In fact, I would say that jobs are going to just become uh, greater and greater, and lots of opportunities. And I'm sure not just employee, but a lot of you will become employers in your region. Because entrepreneurship is our skill. And like I started, right, like we're the land of lions. I always say that to people, whoever I meet, be it American or anybody from the world, right, that I grew up amongst lions. Junagadh, people from Junagadh can pretty much say that. So yeah, we have the willpower, we have the capability, and the infrastructure is being provided by such organizations like yours. So and this is an opportunity to be grabbed.
Yes, sir. Thank you very much. It was a really motivative answer for the specifically for the students. Thank you for that. Now,
Sure.
with concluding this session, I would like to thanks Mr. Chintan sir for their valuable time to conducting such a wonderful session and showing us how the technology is helping us onto our daily basis. Also, at the same time, it was very much exciting to know what will be our future, and the technology will be helping us into the future. At the same time, we are very thankful that sir, that you also have shown that how we on the light slide. The most important thing apart from this, there are the crises available right now, and there will be the problems. Rather than looking into the problems, we'll always have the solution with the technology. So we'll always see the solutions with the help of the technology. So, thank you very much, Chintan sir, for your valuable time for conducting such a wonderful session.
Thank you so much, Hiren sir, Chetan sir, everybody.
Okay,
Thank you.
I would also like to thanks all the participants for joining such a webinar. I would also like to thank Dr. Subhash Technical Campus Management, our director Dr. Deepak Patel sir, and all the management team for constantly supporting us for organizing such a webinar. And there are a couple of webinars coming into the next week. We'll be posting you on the email ID and the contact number. So thank you very much. Have a good day.
Thank you, everyone. One quick last thing before everyone go, right? I want to pick a few names also, right? Dr. Deepak sir, you spoke about. Similarly, Vatalia sir, and I think Varun Vatalia is there, right? So I actually kind of grew up and played. We played together. So just to let you know, like, how closely bonded we are. Thank you again. Thanks all.
Thank you very much, sir. Have a good day. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.